So hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Nefkamond, and welcome to another horror story video. But I want to say this is for now the last this is going to be the last horror story for now. And yeah, so oh yeah, okay. So then please enjoy this video. So thank you guys, and see you guys in the next video.
My name is Delilah, and this is my story. So, when I was around 8 years old, I lived in a small town in Spain named Besalú, Catalan. So basically, everyone in the town knew each other. All the parents knew the other parents and their kids. So I also knew all the parents and their kids. I always played outside with them from the time when I got home from school to the time our dinners were ready. I had these friends, and for the sake of this story, we're going to call them Sally and Thomas. To this day, these people are still my best friends. And when we were little, we were called the Three Musketeers due to how much time we spent together. It was a Saturday morning, and I had asked my mom to play outside. When I got out of the house, Sally and Thomas were already waiting outside for me. After a while, we decided on playing a combination of hide and seek and tag. I started counting, and Thomas and Sally ran away to hide. When I got done counting, I looked around for a few seconds, then ran to look for them. I searched for a few minutes and couldn't find them. There were these big trees behind our houses, so I decided to go look for them in there. After a while, I still couldn't find them and was about to give up when I heard leaves crunching. When I turned around, I saw a figure dart behind a tree. I thought I had found Thomas and ran to the tree. There was a man crouched down behind the tree. He had on dirty clothes, and I heard him crunching on something. I tapped on him and yelled, "Found you, Thomas! You're it now!" The man slowly stood up. When I saw how tall he was, I realized he wasn't Thomas. He turned around, and I saw blood and blue feathers around his mouth. He smiled at me and held out his hands. When I looked at them, I screamed. There was a bluish dead bird in his hands. He was eating the bird. I immediately ran back to my house, and Sally and Thomas were there with my parents. Apparently, after half an hour of not seeing me, they went to my mom and father. They yelled at me for running off and sent me inside. Later, after I had dinner, I went to bed. A few hours after falling asleep, I woke up to the sound of tapping on the window above my bed. It was on the side of my bed, and so I sat up and looked at it. There was a shape of a person tapping on my window with something. I opened the curtain of my window and saw the man from earlier tapping on my window with a sharp stick. When he saw that I was looking at him, he started tapping harder. I screamed and ran away. My parents came in and asked what was wrong. I told them all about today and what had happened. They called the police, and that was the last time I saw him. I just turned 18 a few weeks ago, and this is the first time I thought about this in a while. I still wonder what would have happened to me if I had stayed in those woods any longer than I did that day.
This is a true story of mine, which I still get chills when I think of it. It was the winter in 1989. I was 15 back then. So winters in our state are very cold, and even snowfall happens here. So my friend John had invited me over to a party at his house that night. I didn't want to go, but all of our friends would be there, so I decided to go. It was so cold that I wore a sweater and 2 overcoats. I set out for his house, which was around a mile from mine. So on the way, I saw a girl. She would have been around the same age as me. She was very attractive and was wearing a little old-fashioned clothes, long hair up to her waist, lavender pink dress, but they were indeed so beautiful. I went up to her and asked, "Hey, what are you doing alone on such a cold night?" She asked me, "Are you going to the party?" I replied, "Yes, and by looking at you, it seems that you're going there too." She said yes, and then we started walking together towards my friend's house. I haven't seen her before, but again, I only just came here a year ago, so it could be that I just never came across her before. I asked her, "What's your name?" And she told me, "It's Julie." There were quite a lot of people at the party. So in the party, everyone seems not to know her. They thought she was my friend. I did not deny it. She had a very charming personality, and she was with one group a moment and then the other group the next moment. Everyone liked her. But when the food and drinks were served, I noticed that she didn't eat or drink anything. As for me, I ate heartily and drank a couple of sips too. So it was time for me to go home as it was midnight. Julie also came with me, and on the way back, it was very cold and Julie didn't have much protection against the cold, so I gave her one of my 2 overcoats. We walked a few more steps and then I asked her, "I'll drop you off. Where do you live?" She told me, "There's a shortcut up ahead through the alleyway. I live just up there ahead in Wolfsburn. I will go there, but thanks for insisting to help." I told her, "I had a great time with you. You can return the overcoat whenever you want." She came ahead and kissed me on my cheeks, and then we waved our goodbyes and went our own way. The next day, I was in awe of Julie, so I decided to meet her. I went up to that alley where she told me she lived ahead of there. When I went through, there was a house which was empty. No one lived there. It seemed like it was empty for years. Had Julie played a joke? I went up ahead and there lived the Taylor family. I went to their house and asked, "Does someone named Julie live anywhere near?" I met her at the party yesterday and she told me she lived just ahead of the alley. When I went there, it was an old abandoned house. Mrs. Taylor told me, "I don't think any Julie lives here anywhere." And about that abandoned house, it's called Wolfsburn House. The McKinnon family used to live there 40 years ago. They moved out when their only daughter had died. She stopped and gave me a queer look and continued, "I think her name was Julie. She had died of an accident. I think her grave is just up ahead in the cemetery." I got chills when I heard that. I thanked Mrs. Taylor and went on towards the cemetery. There were a lot of graves, but it didn't take me long to find Julie's, and it was carved Julie McKinnon, 1933 to 1949. With us one moment, taken the next. Gone to her creator, gone to her rest. And there behind the grave, neatly folded, was my overcoat in the grass. To this date, I still remember her beauty, her charming personality. I will never forget her.